Hello there, and thanks for joining me today on our program of Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Remember, we're using my book by that title, Dr. Teach Me to Parent, and working through different topics related to parenting and helping you as a parent do what is good and right with your children and to be effective. Today we got a great program, and I want you to stay tuned as we kind of pick up our conversation with Jameson White, who is the Director of Ministry of Youth for Christ here locally in Fresno. But he's going to tell us a little bit about his own personal story and some of the work that he does with young people in the high school age range. But before we start, let me give you the quote for the day, which I always do, and put it in kind of perspective for us today. So there it is on the screen for you. Home is the chief school of human virtues. Now, what does that mean? Human virtues. What is the quality of life? The great traits and abilities and skills and values that we live with as an individual. And we learn that in the school of the home, if you will. So we're going to focus on that a little bit today and have Jameson kind of tell us about his own home. What's the school of virtue that you grew up in?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here, Dr.
Sure,
Hedberg. It's good to be here. I grew up in an interesting family environment. My parents were dedicated followers of Jesus, still are, and at an early age, they chose to relocate our family with a sense of call and mission to downtown Fresno, which at that time was a place of crime, and I think people were really avoiding it, fleeing it.
Not the kind of place where you'd raise a family.
Well, a lot of people wondered why my parents were doing it.
Yeah, but putting you at risk, I guess, is the idea.
That's how they saw it. That's how they saw it. But my parents were following the call of Jesus to seek the renewal of a place and believed that needed to happen from the inside out. And so we moved into the Lowell neighborhood, and that, for me, the experience growing up was one of risk, but also one of adventure. There was a sense that our family had a call and a purpose, and there was something worth doing that was adventurous for our family, and it was really in pursuit of a goal of seeing what the Lord would do in this particular place.
But it must have been like a balance point. There must have been great times of great fear.
Yeah.
And anxiety
sure.
and insecurity, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there'd be something that would come and that would be kind of an exciting event maybe, and kind of make, maybe this is all right.
Sure. I think what really helped mitigate the parts of it that were fearful for me as a child was having a community of faith and a community of mentors that were there to support. So it was my immediate family, which we grew great support from, but also our house was full of college students. My dad was involved with college ministry at the time, and so we had students from InterVarsity Christian Fellowship coming and staying in our home for dinners. It was always a place of community and of faith and of family, so those things seemed to intersect together to create an environment that was safe, even while as a child I think I perceived violence around me. We heard gunshots at night. That's a kind of interesting story in a sense. Inside the house you felt safe. Outside the house you felt a little bit at risk and a little bit unsure. That's right. But whether you live in downtown Fresno or Clovis, the reality is there is quote unquote danger anywhere.
Yeah.
And in a sense, rather than live in a bubble, my parents' willingness to let me leave that bubble was good for me as a person. I think ultimately helped me grow and mature in much the same way as kids who are at risk, who grow up in these same environments. They have a great wealth of perseverance that they can draw from, a great strength that regardless of how bad it gets, they know how to keep going. Yeah. And that was something I needed to learn as someone who grew up in the suburbs.
If you were going to name a virtue, a distinctive, if you will, kind of a unique quality or trait of your family, the White family, what would you tag on? What would be the tag point?
Yeah, I'd say mission. I say mission, this sense of having a goal, having a purpose, having a reason. There was a great sense of call or mission upon our family that we were following the Lord, that we were seeking His face in the face of our neighbors, and that we really believed that, out of all this, He was working something good. Yeah. Not just for us, but through us in the neighborhood.
So you had kind of like a mission that kind of directed you or guided you or kind of gave you the sense of the reason you're there, the purpose, if
Absolutely.
you will. Yeah.
And if I may just tag on that, I think, as I think about parenting, I have two small girls myself now who are very young, 4.5, 1.5. And already now I want to have the mindset with them, where do I hope that where are we going as a family?
Right.
Where do I hope what do I hope they become?
Yeah.
What's the character that they have when they're older? And those are things I want to start instilling now. I want to begin with the end in mind.
Well, you do. I mean, kids start their value system, in age 2, 3.
Wow.
That's where the value system begins to. I mean, it isn't something we do when we're in high school.
Sure.
We start that from the early. We shape it over time, and
Yeah.
we modify it, and we grow it, so to speak, over time. But it
Yeah.
really starts early in life, so you're doing the right thing.
Awesome.
When it comes to that. You mentioned that you're kind of now working with a group of high school kids in the Youth for Christ ministry of high schools.
Yeah.
What's that all about? What do you do?
Yeah.
What's the essence of that?
So Youth for Christ is all about helping teens, 11 to 19-year-olds, connect to Jesus, but through relationships. We have programming, but the programming just is a way for us to connect together. It's kids connecting with other kids and sharing faith, or it's kids connecting with adults who are going to share the love of God to them. But we hope that every kid has the opportunity to know Jesus.
Now, when you talk about kids, you're talking about junior high school? You're talking about high school?
Yeah.
What's the framework?
Primarily think junior high and high school, or 11 to 19-year-olds. But we work with kids in juvenile hall.
But this isn't something just in Fresno.
No, actually.
I mean, you indicate this is way beyond Fresno.
So, Youth for Christ, the Reverend Billy Graham just passed. He was actually the first full-time staff member of Youth for Christ 78 years ago. Youth for Christ is not just in the USA, but it's in over 100 countries. And our local chapter of Fresno, Madera Youth for Christ has been around as long as the USA chapter has been around.
Right.
So we're a part of a national movement that's a part of an international movement, which is great.
So what do you do with these kids? I mean, is it kind of like general discussion, or is it just like a one-to-one teamwork?
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of things. I'll focus on one. I think a lot of listeners might remember in their day, campus life was a big thing back in the 50s.
Yes.
And so we still do campus life. And this is a program that connects students to Jesus, but it does it through, it's like a youth group. We have fun together. We have community together. We talk about real life issues together, things that kids are facing, things that they're interested in pursuing. And then we connect them with adult mentors and student leaders who are going to speak life and love into that situation in their life.
So give me an example of something that good comes from this. I mean, a kid comes to your programming and might join in some discussion groups and so on. And how are they affected? Is there a story? Is there an illustration of that type of thing as to how this really plays out?
I'd like to give you two stories. I'm just going to give you one, and it's just because it's on my heart and mind this morning. I'll call him George. I met this kid at Roosevelt High School. He came in. We're doing what we call club in a lunchtime environment. He chooses to come and he sits down, and at the end of it, he comes up to me with tears in his eyes, which does not happen very often. And you could just tell something was moving in his heart, and he just felt very, very moved by the opportunity to hear about a story of Jesus from the Bible. So I thought, that's great. Next week, I come back to Roosevelt, and he's not there. I start asking around, where's George at? Anyone know where George is at? Well, we fast forward. One of my friends meets him at juvenile hall. It turns out he was getting in a little bit of trouble. He was at a crossroads in his life, and he had come to us at the point of the fork in the road. And so as he's getting out of juvenile hall, we reconnect, and I start meeting with him one-on-one, and start asking, George, tell me about your life. What was going on when you first walked in, and how did you end up in juvenile hall? And he starts telling me about fatherlessness. He starts telling me about gang life and crime and feeling a pull to that because of family. But this Jesus way was starting to compel him. But it's a scary road. He might lose the gang support. He might lose the only support he's known. So we start meeting. And I just listened. I think that's one of the most important things I did. I didn't say a lot.
It's an interesting thing, because that's important to high school kids.
Yeah.
And older even. Kids want to be listened to. They want to be heard. They want to have a voice.
Absolutely.
And who listens?
Who listens that's a great point. So I listened, and the one thing I shared with him at the end of listening, after weeks of listening, I just said, one of my favorite verses in Scripture is God says, though your mom or dad forsake you, I will take you in. It's out of Psalms, one of my favorite verses. I just kind of left it with him. Invited him to church. He comes to church with me, and believe it or not, the sermon that Sunday was about God as Father. And it just struck him. So George ends up becoming a believer in Jesus, following the Jesus way, and starts making tough choices. Well, today, you fast forward a year later, he's now married, he's graduating from high school. There's a lot happening in his life, a road that he still needs to walk, but the progress from where he came from.
You wouldn't have predicted that.
You can't predict that.
A year earlier than that, you wouldn't have
can't.
predicted that.
And I believe there's God uses people to connect dots in people's lives. And one of the most loving things I could do for a kid is understand them and listen to them. And given the opportunity, if they know I care about them, they'll give me the opportunity to speak love into their life.
You know, you flip that thing around. The thing that kids need and want is to be connected with.
Yeah.
They want to have somebody to connect with.
Yeah.
And we have a culture. We have a world of kids who are unconnected.
Yes.
Non-connected, disconnected.
Yes.
It's all around us.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are crying out to be connected.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you're a connection point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you create connection points. And
Yeah.
then that creates connection points.
Right.
And the kid becomes part of a network, part of a family, part of a community.
Right.
And he rebuilds his life.
That's right. You know, I
It
think
sounds simple, but
it's not. It's not. It takes a lot of work, and there's about 100 plus dedicated YFC volunteers to help us reach about 3,000 kids every year. But you hit on something I think is important. We're in an age of social media.
Oh.
And with social media, there's a positive side, but one of the negative sides is it gives you the perception that you're connected. It's the perception of connection, but it's so skin deep that it never really hits the yearning that we have to be known and to know. And so that's where the tangible flesh and blood comes in.
That's what a kid wants.
Yeah.
He wants it from his parents.
Absolutely.
He wants it from
Needs
his
it.
mother, wants it
Needs
from his
it.
father.
Yes, needs
But
it.
sometimes we don't have a mother. We don't have a father. We don't
That's
have
right.
parents.
That's right.
You know, they may be there, but they're not involved. They're not connected. They're not available. And
That's right.
then the kid seeks it, you know, everywhere else.
That's right.
Which you can. Hey, we're going to take a break.
Sounds good.
Go get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes, okay? Thanks for joining us, though.
The Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living in secured homes for elderly with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-297-9438 and visit greengablescarehome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010, and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Coming on back and rejoining us as we continue our discussion with Jameson White of Youth for Christ here locally in Fresno, and working with a large group of high school kids. I think you said something like 3,000 kids here locally are involved in your work, but also across the country and across the world.
Oh, yeah.
So you represent quite a large number of kids.
Yeah.
And when you think of that, it prompts me to ask you the question, what about kids today?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they telling you? I mean, in some ways, you're a person that will listen when they don't have somebody that'll listen. In some way, you're a person who will keep a confidence. So they must tell you things that maybe they can't tell anybody else or won't tell anybody else. So what are kids saying today about family life and about their own parents and their own homes?
Yeah.
What's the good and the bad, if you will?
Yeah. Well, let's listen. I hear a lot of the bad.
I'm sure.
Kids today are facing a context that probably is different than the context you grew up in, I'm assuming. I think there's a lot more broken families.
Mm-hmm.
And fatherlessness is a big one. And I think home isn't always a place of stability. And to encourage parents out there, you are so vital and crucial to the life of your kid. Your words and actions, it builds something in them.
Kids watch that. Kids live off of that.
They do.
Yeah.
And so when something's off or lacking, or if it's just a hurdle they have to clear, they know that too. You know, they live with that sense as well.
Yeah. But is there a message that the typical kid, so to speak, in high school, the junior year in high school, the typical kid, is there a message that he wants his parents to hear?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever asked a kid that direct question, what do you want from your parent? And I ought to. That's a great question. Yeah. But from what I've heard them say to me, I think that there's a connectedness that they want.
That's a good word.
There's that love, that unconditional sense that my parent is for me and with me and believing in me and helping me. That may be there, but for some kids, especially the at-risk ones that we work with, it's definitely lacking.
Yeah. I would translate that into two things. One is certainly a parent and child to connect. But that indicates then that the parent's involved.
Yeah.
That the parent's interested, the parent takes time, sacrifices some of their own interests for the sake of the kid. That's kind of what that means.
That's good.
And it also means that parent is trying to do something with that child. I mean, to grow the child, if you will, to mature the child or to help the child, not just to be interested in the child. I mean, that's friendship.
Yeah, they're active.
So it goes beyond friendship. Every parent cannot be a friend and should not be a friend. They should be a parent, and that means you're growing a kid. You're advancing the kid's life in some way.
Yeah, that's a good point you made. Like I said, I have 2 young kids, and I'll tell you, there is nobody else that can occupy the spot of mom for my kids than mom. Now, in the absence of a mother figure, praise be to God, some people can step into that role and become that for other kids, but largely, if that parent is missing or not active, like you said, not connected, it's a big hole, and it's a hard hole to fill.
Yeah. Is there an example? Is there something that a parent really should stop doing? Are parents out there doing things that the kids are just mad about, if you will? I mean, they're angry at their parents when the parents do certain things.
Sure.
I mean, is it the alcoholism, the drug use?
Yeah.
What is it that parents do that kids hate?
Sure.
You look at it from that negative point of view.
Well, I have an adult answer to that, but I'll give you the kid answer. I think one of the things parents could do differently is in the realm of punishment. Rather than punish it just simply being consequence or geared towards compliance, if it were really guidance in love, if that's what punishment was, was seen and given out as guidance with love. This is tied to the action that you've done for the sake of you growing and maturing and helping you make better choices for yourself. I mean, if it was packaged in that way and given in that way, but I think, I know it's like to be stressed and burdened on the fly and you just kind of lash out.
Oh, yeah.
You just start grabbing cell phones. I mean, I get that. So I get that. But punishment, and conflict, resolving conflict between parent-child, that's big.
I always say it this way. When you punish a child, discipline a child in the form of punishment, you're telling the child what not to do.
Sure.
But that never tells the child what to do.
Yeah, that's right. Good
I
point.
mean, there's no guidance to that.
Right.
It just says stop doing something. So you have to go beyond that, and that's where reward and compliments and praise comes in.
Yeah.
Because that tells a child, keep doing it.
Right.
That's good. We want
Right.
more of that. Keep doing that. I praise you for that.
Right.
So it's that balance of stopping something. That's the role of punishment, and there's a role for that.
Yeah.
And then there's the role for picking up and teaching what could be done, ought to be done, and then praising it when it is.
I love it.
And I hope you do that with your kids.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, and I'm definitely learning. I will say my adult answer to your question is that the better connected parents can be to a church community or to a deep sense of faith themselves.
And a support community, I guess.
A support community is the horizontal, but then also a vertical connection to the Lord our God. The more that's there in them, it will help in whatever comes out. Mm-hmm. So as a strong believer in Jesus, I feel like a lot of the shrapnel that happens in the lives of kids it might not be there if people were following the Jesus way themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there an example of this of a kid that you've maybe worked with that really changed his family? He changed. He learned something from you, from what you're doing in Youth for Christ, and went home and changed his family. I mean, does that happen?
Yeah.
Kind of the second generation, but it's you always think of the parent changing the kid.
Yeah.
But what's the reverse of that?
Yeah, it does happen from kid to parent, and let me share a little bit about our teen parent ministry. So we also work with teen parents. The Central Valley has a ton of them. And so as we reach these young 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old parents, these are teenage parents in the literal sense of the word, it is reaching them, but it's also reaching their children. So you're asking about the reverse, reaching a kid to reach their family, and that happens. Right. But for sure we see it impacting second generation, third generation after the fact. I will say I did have a kid who accepted Christ, and his mom was an alcoholic. And so we started, helping the kid understand what to do about that, how to pray about that, how to view that, how to love his mom amidst that. Yeah. And she ended up passing away, which is super sad for the kid from alcoholism. But it happens, but it's sad to me when it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And we don't always know the story, how it will end 10 years down the road. So I have hope for that.
No. But I would imagine that's one of the things you try to do is to help a kid not only become a person of faith themselves, but to create a sense of faith in their own siblings and their parents or grandparents, the extended family. Yeah. You want them to kind of live differently in the family and rebuild the family, I assume.
That's what faith does. That's if you're a follower of Jesus, it's going to affect all of your relationships and the words that you speak, and there'll be words of love and encouragement, and it'll absolutely affect relationships. And so I think at some level that gets reciprocated. Mm-hmm. If you start treating someone differently, I think the hope is over time that person starts getting a clue with it.
Do you actually teach parents how to parent? I mean, do you have a program, or do you, through the kids, try to help them teach their parents how to parent?
Yeah, we don't. That's a great idea. We do teach teen parents how to parent their children.
Well, these are the teenage kids who have parents.
And so we link every teen mom and dad with a mentor parent who will help them understand their role as parent, not just as teenager, and then how to be of support to their child who's...
Tell me about that. That would seem to be something that a kid would want.
Yeah.
If they don't have a strong family, they would want a mentor. It's kind of a substitute mother or father, I assume is what you're saying, kind of a phantom mother they have, but this puts one in their life, in real life.
That's right. Every kid, myself included, absolutely needs a community of people. It's the parent is a super critical bullseye role in a kid's life, but isn't the only role and can't be the only role. Kids need other voices. They need teachers, they need classmates, they need mentors. A caring adult who's not a mom or dad has the ability to speak words and get through because it's heard differently with different ears. And I can remember the people that spoke into my life. I remember their names. I remember what they did, and they were instrumental to me.
That's right.
As were my parents.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned teachers. Let me just kind of segue for that question for a minute. Are teachers today invested in their kids' lives that sit there in front of them every day, all day long?
Yeah.
Or are teachers kind of disconnected? They're just teaching a subject, they're going through a routine, and the kids out there in their lives and their struggles and their messes up and all the things that they do.
Sure.
Are teachers invested today? Are they involved in the lives of kids?
Yeah, if you're out there with that same question, I'll give you encouragement. Every teacher that we work with who helps support the clubs we do on campus, acts as an advisor for it, they are overly involved in the lives of kids. These are caring adults who give above and beyond financially, emotionally, relationally. I think if you just took the population of teachers, more than half would be that way. But it's a mixed bag. You're going to get teachers who are just there and kind of jaded and don't really want to get involved.
Go through the routine, so to speak.
There will always be those
you
people.
hear about that all the time.
You hear about
That's
those
what
people.
you hear about.
But I don't want people to think that's who
That's
teachers
what
are.
I was wondering about.
It's not. That's not.
So your experience is very different than that.
Yes, because the people who are there with that kind of, they're not going to last. They don't last. They don't last. It's the people who really have the heart for it, and they want to help kids, and they want to help kids academically, but they see the holistic side of their job. Those are the ones that do great teaching, and there's a ton of them out there.
I would say the parent is the child's first teacher.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a sense, the teacher and the parent really have our team.
Yeah.
And if they connected, they would have tremendous power.
That's right.
In the life of a child.
That's right.
Unfortunately, sometimes parents aren't involved with teachers, and teachers don't reach out to parents, and there's a disconnect.
Yeah. We are all allies, and we need to act as allies.
They work together.
Let's
it's
be
a
in
team.
cahoots.
It's a team.
That's right.
Yeah. I like your word.
Let's be in cahoots.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is good visit. I want to kind of segue to another question, and we'll pick it up after the break. And that is, kids sometimes don't have a family, so they look for alternative families. Quasi families, and the drug world provides that. The gang world provides that. So I want to come back and get your thoughts on that in terms of, do you work with gang kids?
Yeah.
Do you infiltrate into the gang world? And what's the message of the gang world for kids today? Why are they so attractive to our kids today?
Yeah.
So let's pick that up after the break, okay? Take a break, get a cup of coffee, come on back in just a couple minutes, and we'll pick up our topic on gang life and our kids today, okay?
Hey! Try to close the club. Tanya, come here.
At Boys and Girls Clubs, it's not just about trying new things.
Kitchen, my hometown.
It's not about learning the right steps.
4,
or making contact.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's not about exploring the future. It's about helping them build it. It's about taking steps to greatness. About making a connection. It's about proving every kid and teen has what it takes. It's about people in our clubs who bring out the greatness in every kid who enters our doors. It's not just about being on stage. It's about walking across it. Great futures start here, and here, and here.
Sat7 is a Christian media network that uses uncensored satellite television to broadcast across the Middle East and North Africa, and is also available globally online.
dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Okay, thanks for joining us again, or rejoining us, if I can use that word. I hope you got your coffee, and we're going to pick up our discussion here with Jameson White of Youth for Christ here locally in Fresno, working with our high school population in schools, through schools, in the jails, in various settings where high school kids are and hang out. That's where you'll find Youth for Christ, trying to connect with these kids and trying to kind of help them rebuild their lives and help them establish their lives on some kind of a foundation known as faith. And Jameson is working full-time in this particular ministry and sharing his heart, sharing his experiences with us today, as you probably have already listened, and we're going to pick it up now. And my question that I proposed at the break was this. Kids sometimes don't have a family, or they have a very weak family. They have a very splintered family. They have a very dysfunctional family, we can use that word. I mean, kids come from family backgrounds that are not strong, not healthy. So they start looking for something. They start looking for what we call an alternative family, namely gangs, if you will. But there are a lot of alternative families. What's the story of our kids today in this kind of pursuit of another family because they don't have one?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Kids are looking for family, and that's one of the main drivers towards like a gang life. It provides the safety that's not there at home, the stability, the perceived stability. But my thing with alternative families, having worked around the environment, having worked with kids in that environment, is I think it promises something that it can't actually deliver. It's a facsimile of the family. But
That's a good word.
It's inauthentic.
Yeah.
It's not the true thing, and I think it won't.
It's not a family.
Satisfy.
It's not a family. It pretends to be one, if you will,
right.
but it's not one.
We work with kids. We have chaplains in juvenile hall with kids, and so many of them have this support system that as soon as they get locked up, it vanishes. Or as soon as they are in actual need at the bottom of the barrel, they don't seem to be around anymore. Or their friend now is locked up and can't help them. So I think I get why, but we need to be providing better alternatives.
I always look at it this way, that if you can help the gang advance their goals and objectives, you're wonderful. But if you have a need, the gang doesn't come and help you in your time of need.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's a one-way street.
Yeah, it is a one-way street.
Kids don't know that until a crisis hits.
Right. One of the strongest alternatives to alternative families is the family of God. And the church community is our best expression of that in the Christian realm. So there are some wonderful Christian churches that you could go to in Fresno where absolutely a kid could find mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, people that will pour into them, whether or not they ever receive anything back.
So are kids looking for that?
I think kids
want
want
are
it.
they saying, where can I go to church, or where can I connect with others?
Yeah, it's a little bit like opening a treasure chest to a kid that they didn't know was there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They know that they deep inside they need something, but I think ultimately if you can point out and say, hey, this right here is what you're looking for, I think the light bulb can come on. But no, kids aren't generally knocking on the doors of churches saying, let me in.
No.
It takes a connecting point, and that's Youth for Christ, one of our purposes. And other caring adults are that connecting point. Other caring friends, often peers, other Christian students in their same environment are connecting points for those kids looking for alternatives.
If I was a parent out in the audience, I would say to myself, I have a high school kid. He's not gone to church, but I think it's a good thing. I think it'd be a nice thing for him to do.
Yeah.
I should try to get him somewhere.
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
I mean, where do I go? Do I just go down to the church on the street?
Sure.
Or are there certain churches in town that kind of are known because they focus on this high school population of kids?
We have a number. I won't name all of them, but let me give you some.
Yeah, just give a sampling of that.
If you're in the Northwest, look at North Point Church. If you're in the Northeast, you can look at Clovis Hills. You could go in the North, you could look at New Cove or The Well. You could look at J.R. Coleman's Church, The Word, downtown. You could go to Nick Pope's Church in the Southeast. You could go to Neighborhood Church. Cornerstone is a great downtown church with a strong youth group. So there are places. In the heart of our city, The Bridge is a wonderful church where you could go, played a part in my story as well. So those are all great options for parents looking for a place to connect.
So there are churches.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not every church.
Right.
Obviously, you're saying that. But there are a number of churches that if you had a kid out there that really needed some kind of a family, or you wanted to provide a kind of a Christian, spiritual, religious education to your kid,
yes,
there's places to go then.
Yeah, I mean, to give you a picture of what that might look like, these are groups of 100 students that show up on a Wednesday night where they're going to have a really quality content given to them, but it's in an environment where they can have fun and grow and learn with their peers, strong relationships, 100 kids, but broken into small groups where kids can be known by an adult and known by their friends, where they have the ability to share themselves and their lives. So it's just quality youth ministry that's developed in our city.
Yeah. You know, I wonder, I get your point of view on this. There's some evidence to indicate that gangs are growing. They're getting larger and they're getting more of them. But they're also becoming more violent. Why?
I don't
do you have
know.
any thought on that?
Why do you think they're more... Is it just the day and age that we live in with the examples of violence
Well,
they see on
violence
TV?
promotes violence.
Sure does.
You know, so when you get a start of a little bit of violence, and that creates almost like a competitiveness.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to outdo that. It's like suicide. You know, it promotes more.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot of this kind of me too.
Sure.
You know, and I can do it better, and I can do it bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and so there is that kind of thinking.
I'm a little bit of the mind that the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so I read some of these Old Testament stories and some of the heinous things that were going on back then.
Well,
and I tell you, like, you know.
Throughout history, I mean, obviously,
throughout history, there's been some crazy things that have happened. I think their at-risk potential is high right now in our culture and in our climate. And so what proactively do you think that we could do to help give better alternatives to kids that are really seeking them out, maybe because of the breakdown of their family? What are some of those things? I mean, that I think we could probably list 10, 20 things that we could offer. The church is absolutely a good connecting point. Youth for Christ provides programming on campus. So if you're a parent of a kid looking for connecting points, you could go to our website and you could look at where we have programming, and your kid's school might have an option on Monday at lunch in a teacher's room where they could go and have fun, but also hear about the Bible or hear about Jesus for the first time. It would be great.
This might be a silly question, but if you take a gang, and let's say they have 50 members of that particular gang, do they in any way want somebody to come and talk to them?
Sure.
I mean, do they want a chaplain?
Sure.
You know, are they open to somebody like you just befriending them and just you know, sharing your life with them a little bit and talking to them and getting them to think a little bit more? Are they open at all, or is it a closed book?
No, I think it's absolutely open. One of my favorite ministries in town is Hope Now for Youth, and they take gang members and move them from gangs to jobs. That's what they do.
I see.
And it's the offer of here's a road that I'm offering you to go from dirty money and the life of crime that is promising you like the finances that you need for your family, but is going to ultimately end up in death or jail. Rather than that, here's an opportunity for me to train you up and get you into a real job where you don't have to look over your shoulder. More often than not, it feels like gang members take them up on that offer.
Really?
We'll go through the steps of getting anger management classes done, maybe even hearing about Jesus along the way. But so absolutely it's open. I think if you provide a better alternative, that better than not, people will take it. That's my feel.
Do you work with jails?
So
jail population?
Yeah.
I mean, that would seem to be another population like that, you know, you have to kind of go to them. They won't come to you.
Yeah. So we work with kids who are incarcerated in juvenile hall in Fresno and in Madera. And right now there are kids in cells in Fresno and at the juvenile justice campus, and we send 20 or so chaplains that do in different pods of students who are in jail to go meet with them and do programming with them. And so we absolutely work with that population. They're a captive audience, just kidding, but they're looking for, they do fatherhood classes. A lot of these kids are parents themselves. Do fatherhood classes, we talk about jobs, we talk about what happens when you get out, what do you want to do, who are you going to be connected with, how can we change your playground and your playmates and your playbook, because that's how you're going to see change in your life. So.
It is. And that's the thing that kids want. That's what parents want. If I was a parent out there and I said, I want to talk to somebody, you know, I'm a parent. I just need somebody to talk to get some advice.
Yeah.
You know, I need some direction. And my kid's driving me crazy, and you know, I can't control him, and he's in crime, and he's in drugs, and he's out all night. I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Where does a parent go?
Yeah, where does a parent go for help? I think there's a lot of services in Fresno that a parent could access. Well, before they did that though, I just would love to ask that parent, why do you think your kid's doing that?
Yeah.
Like, have you had the long conversation of listening, of just asking and being open to hearing where that kid's coming from? I just wonder what they would hear, you know, because that would also help them know where to go for help. It would help, rather than being this big nebulous tangled web. It might come down to one single issue.
Yeah.
And maybe they could work out.
Yeah,
a
maybe that's in a
solution together.
formula. That, you know, if a parent sat down and let's say for an hour, just say for an hour over a period of time, you just listen to your kid.
Yeah.
You just listen to what the kid's problems are, anxieties and fears, and
Yeah.
what's being threatened in his life and all that. And just listened.
Yeah.
It would probably help you decide who you need to go to and talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
professional counselor,
Yes.
a minister, a youth
Yes.
leader, a neighbor, or a doctor, or whomever.
Yeah.
It would help you know where to go.
If it was my kid, I think the places I would go is I'd get counseling myself, make sure, is this something about me or just something about my kid? I'd get together with some of my friends, neighbors, community of faith, and say, let's pray. Can we just pray for my child? I'd talk to my kid themselves and look for opportunities, alternatives to what they're doing. I'd access resources like Youth for Christ. I'd access Hope Now for Youth. So there are agencies and places to go for help, you know.
But a parent has to take that initiative to reach out.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the old story that, you know, the parent is the advocate for the kid.
That's right.
You know, the parent is the first teacher, you know, for the kid. A parent has to kind of get that sense that it starts with me.
Yeah.
It starts in the home.
Yeah.
And if the home breaks down, the kid breaks down.
Yeah.
If the home gets rebuilt, the kid gets rebuilt.
Yeah. It's a strong belief, and I hope people hear that as an encouragement and not like a weight that they bear, but something to say, like, your role is vital and it's important. And so, absolutely, if this thing is going wrong, like, there's something you can do about it because you're the parent. That's the great news in it.
You know, it gives you a lot of power, it gives you a lot of strength, but there's hope for you.
That's right. There is hope.
It's hope. It's not just hope now for youth, but it's hope now for parents too.
That's right.
You would hope so.
That's right.
Okay, let's take a little break, and we'll come back for our last segment with Jameson White of Youth for Christ. So this is your last chance to get a cup of coffee, and come on back in just a couple minutes.
Hey there, world. I'd like to introduce you to someone really special and really cool. This is my mom. My mom is an amazing person. She is a writer. She is a newly transplanted Texan. She is a woman of faith, and she loves 80s music. She also is a person with a very rare genetic muscular disorder called Pompe disease.
Pompe disease is a terminal, progressive illness. It's a genetic enzyme deficiency which ultimately leads to the destruction of your skeletal muscles. Those are the muscles that control how you move, your arms, your legs, and your torso. When your jaw or esophageal muscles are affected, you can no longer eat and require a feeding tube. When your diaphragm is impacted, you can't breathe on your own any longer and require a trach ventilator. When your legs are impacted, you will no longer be able to walk without assistance. You can lose bladder and bowel control. It affects children and adults, and eventually it kills you. It is rare, but it's real.
Now, we're lucky. My mom's still able to walk, though she uses a cane to get around most of the time. She's still able to breathe unassisted, but she can't go upstairs, and she needs some kind of assistance to get up from a seated position, like if she's sitting in a chair. She has to examine every activity ahead of time to know if there are things like handicap parking, accessible buildings, and even functional bathrooms. All of her activities depend heavily on the weather. A windy day can be just as dangerous as an icy one. She jokes that you can tell what kind of day she's having by whether she can lift her arms high enough to do her hair. And she recently moved into a one-story house specifically with the idea that she's one day going to need a wheelchair to get around. Those are the kind of things she has as everyday concerns. Her normal everyday fears are things like dropping her keys or falling in public and not being able to get up. That actually happened a couple of years ago. She fell and fractured her pelvis because she was unable to break her fall.
I receive an enzyme replacement therapy every 2 weeks for life. It's a 6-hour IV. It helps slow the progression of the disease, but it is not a cure. And it costs about $100,000 every time you sit in a chair. Insurance takes care of most of that if you're lucky, but not everyone is, and the expenses add up very quickly. Things like wheelchairs, accessible vehicles, special housing, travel costs to medical conferences, doctor's appointments, and clinical trials. Luckily, there is a group that helps families with Pompe handle these costs. The United Pompe Foundation is a group connecting funds with real people who need help. This was founded by a father whose son has Pompe disease, and they could not find the resources that they needed. They assist patients and their families with medical costs and other expenses that they need to survive day to day. Every little bit helps.
There are a lot of things in life that we really take for granted, and sometimes the scariest things in the world are the things that you can't see. So today we're asking for you to help us shed a little light on a rare and scary disease. Please share this video with your friends, your family, strangers, anybody that you come across. Education is a big thing. It makes a big difference. And another way to make a really huge difference in someone's life is to go check out the United Pompe Foundation. Their website is in this video description. Click on it, check it out, and go ahead and donate some money if you're able to. Again, this is an organization giving real help to real people who are amazing and need it, like my mom. I love her, and thank you so much for helping us out. Thank you so much.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Okay, thanks for joining us again, coming back after your little break in our topic today on high school kids and how they connect with their families and how families either connect or disconnect with their own high school kids within the home and within the community. And Jameson White of Youth for Christ has been our guest and has kind of talked greatly regarding our high school kids today. Who are they and what they're like and what their needs are and what their problems are and some of the issues related to family living. So we'll kind of wrap this up here in the next few minutes and just kind of say, can you help us understand kind of where these kids are today? And kind of what's the picture? What's the snapshot of the kid today?
Yeah.
Just where are we now with our kids?
Yeah. You know, kids are great because they are full of potential. They're full of energy and excitement. They love having fun. They love asking questions.
Yeah.
They love being
Yeah.
connected. They're seeking out real relationships. And so part of our role is to help them seek that out in the right ways.
Okay, so then we turn to parents. You've been working with high school kids.
Yeah.
What's the word for parents? You know,
Yeah.
what are you learning from kids
Yeah.
that you translate that and say,
Yeah.
this is something now that parents need to know? How would you package it? What? You're going to put it in a book.
Yeah.
You're going to put it on a CD.
Yeah.
You know, what would you tell parents to consider and to think about, and maybe they ought to give thought about it every single day of their life
Sure.
now as they have high school kids?
Sure. If you're a parent and you're listening to this or you're accessing
Yeah.
how can I do
Yeah.
as a parent, you're already doing something right. I just want to encourage you, don't give up. Like, don't give up, because if you can create an environment at home that is one of love, one of acceptance, one of connection, one of listening and understanding, one of guidance in love, one of peace and stability. Ultimately, those environments will help this kid flourish, regardless of the risk factors that they may face.
Yeah. I always say in terms of get educated.
Yeah.
As a parent. I mean, educate yourself about your own child. Start there. Who is your child, and what's the thinking, what's the attitude, what's the fears, what's the anxieties, what's the source of depression. Know your kid.
Yep.
And then know adolescence.
Yeah.
Know the high school mindset.
Yep.
I mean, read and listen to this program. This is where you get it.
Yeah.
But get educated about who it is that you are trying to raise in your own home.
Yeah.
Do you think that kids are telling you that their parents are clueless?
I think a lot of them don't have parents, and that's a problem. And so it's hard for the one parent or the grandma who's left, who's occupying that role. And so
what is it, like something like 3 million grandparents raise kids?
Yeah, and God bless them. God bless them.
I mean, and they do pretty well, by the way. They really do.
I mean, you play the cards you're dealt, but the better, more stability we can keep in the home, the better for the kid. And by the way, as much as kids can be perceived to be wild and crazy, and just generations are getting worse and worse, it's never too far gone. And I absolutely have a lot of hope as I work with kids, because I see life change happen. I see kids grow and mature and end up married and having kids and in jobs. So I've been around long enough for that. And so for those who are believers, pray with a sense of urgency, but pray with a sense of hope that actually God's going to work things out for good for that kid, and that change can happen and does.
Are parents wanting help? I mean, do you get that sense that a parent really is struggling and would be open, would be willing to receive help if they knew where to go or had somebody connect with them?
Yeah.
If you went door to door and say, I'm a high school leader, I know about high school kids, you have a high school kid in your home, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Would they open the door and talk? Or
Yeah, I think they would. We get phone calls from parents looking for where can their kid connect. I think parents are looking for allies. They're looking for somebody to go shoulder to shoulder with them, who will work in concert with them for the benefit of their child. And there's plenty of people willing to do that. And Youth for Christ is, like I say, over 100 plus volunteers. And so we are allies with the parents and as our teachers. So the more that we can link together for the common goal of the student, the better.
Is the church missing something here? Are the schools missing something here? Are the nonprofit organizations of our communities and so on missing something here? Is there a gap? Is there something missing that these kids just need and that nobody's addressing?
I look at all those institutions, and I think
there are a lot of them,
but I think they're doing great work, and I think they're doing as much as they can with what they have. And so the first thing I would just say as an exhortation is to the family, to the parent, is start there. Start there and say, what can I do today for the sake of my kid? What can we do to build a positive memory? And for those in the community that are saying, I care about this issue, I want to support, I want to see kids flourish, they can absolutely volunteer with an organization like Youth for Christ or support it financially. These organizations would do more with more, absolutely.
Don't you have a youth center in the north end of town?
So we do. We just launched the Campus Life Center at Chestnut and Teague as a second facility in our city for kids. It's a connecting point for the local schools of Buchanan, Clovis North, Clovis West, but we take all of our Campus Life kids over there for swim parties and hot dogs. There's kids there almost every day of the week.
Is that right?
Awesome. Yep. Yep.
So that's really a place for a kid to relax but also talk.
Absolutely.
Is somebody there to talk with them if they really want to talk?
Always. Caring adults are always there staffing it, and there's program times, and then there's uninstructional time where it's just like an after-school hangout. But there's a safe environment for kids to grow and flourish in.
What schools feed into that? North end of town, I'm
Clovis
thinking
North, Buchanan, Clovis High, Clovis West. Yeah.
Hoover?
Yeah, Hoover is right there to the south, just about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. Yep.
So kids from all those schools.
Yeah, easily access it.
I mean, that's just one place. And then you have a place downtown, too.
Yeah, downtown on Divisadero for a long time in the old fire station. We actually have an MMA gym in that facility for kids from the 93701 zip code and all the surrounding downtown neighborhoods. So we have programming there a few times a week where they'll learn a skill, but it's in the environment of faith and something that will build them up.
So there are places that kids can go to, but there's also a place where a parent could go and say, I need some help.
Absolutely. And
Talk to me, ask me.
I would say, a couple resources for parents that I'm aware of. One is someone like yourself, but another is there's some great resources from longtime youth pastors. One of his name is Doug Fields. He has a great curriculum called Intentional Parenting. That's something you can look up online. There's videos, there's workbooks. You could grab the book, Doctor Teach Me to Parent.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Dr. Teach Me to Parent, that's right.
You know, there are excellent resources that if you're in this boat looking for help, access it, Google it. There's good content out there.
That's right, yeah. You know, this is a voluntary ministry, and they only can work on the basis of funds being provided, donations being given. So if this rings your bell a little bit and you have interest in what Youth for Christ is doing in our community and across the world, actually, send them some bucks. Just go to the website that's shown on your screen and share a few dollars with them. They'll use it well and multiply those dollars for getting into the lives of kids and changing the lives of kids in a very significant kind of way. So there's your opportunity to be part of the story and to contribute to the story, as well as receive something from it. That's right. Yourself as a parent. And if you're a corporation, you're a foundation, you have connections with corporations and foundations, spread the word, would you? Go make a request, make an appeal that some dollars be shared with Youth for Christ, and they'll use it well, okay? Now, before we end today, I want to just bring you a little quote. I always do that at the end of the program, and a little quote that you can just kind of take with you and hope it applies to your own particular situation. You can learn from it, okay? It says this, and read it on the screen. Home should be a retreat to which a son and daughter can return, whether he comes in triumph or defeat, or whether he comes in victory or defeat. And then to know that by coming home, that they will be loved. You know, kids, at the end of the day, many come from school and they've had a defeated day. They've been the object of bullying. They've been the object of harassment. They've been put through some very difficult times with teachers or with an examination or whatever. Kids come home and they want a place that they are loved. And even if a kid comes home with great victory at the end of the day, he's won the swim meet or whatever it might be, that's great. Come home and be loved, but also to come home even in a point of defeat and failure. Kids just want a place to come home and where they're loved. So that's the home that you have to provide, and you can provide, and many of you are providing, obviously. Yeah. But learn to do it better. That's the purpose of Dr. Teach Me to Parent. You're doing good, but we can always do it better. Pick up the book, use it like a manual, use it like a handbook in your own parenting your kids. It's available. Look at the website and you can get it there. Anyway, Jameson, thank you for joining us today. This
Pleasure.
is
Thank you very much.
a great opportunity for you to let us know what you're doing personally.
Sure.
But what Youth for Christ as an organization is doing, but what the family of our community really is. Yeah. It's good.
Yep.
There's a lot of good out there in family life.
That's right.
Obviously, we have families that are struggling and sharing defeat, but you know, you're a place of refuge. You're a place of hope. You're a place of information. You're a place of regeneration, I guess.
That's right.
You think of that way, renewal.
That's right.
So
We're
keep
all in
doing
this
what you're
together.
doing.
Thank you.
You're doing fine.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and bye for now.
Bye.
CentralValleyTalk.com